Hello everyone, it's Lisa from Epic Yarn Gems. Today I have a tutorial for you using the new hag stitch. This stitch was created by the yarn hag Ryan, and she had put out there if anybody wanted to use it and post a tutorial to go ahead and share it with her. So I'm going to do that. And also I wanted to share with you because the stitch actually is beautiful. It adds such great texture to the hat. And I just thought you might like to have a new pattern for a hat. So this is the hag hat with the pattern that I created. It is free, and I will be putting the link to the actual written pattern in the description. The yarn I used is an acrylic 4-weight. I have no idea where I got it or what the brand is. It is left over. And the hook that I used is my 5.5 millimeter hook. And if you've seen my previous tutorials, you know I like to work my hats top down. So I am starting with the magic circle or the magic ring. I will put a link up in the right hand corner to a tutorial I did on how to do the magic ring. But however you start a top down hat, go right ahead. And we're going to use a half double crochet. So we're going to chain 2 to start. And then we are going to put half double crochets into the center of the middle of that circle. So we will be doing all half double crochets here, and there you can do this in many different counts, but how I did it my second time around is in counts of 10. So you start with 10 half double crochets into the center of that magic circle, do a slip stitch join. The second round you're going to do 2 half double crochets into each of those stitches, and then so on and so on until you get a total of 70 stitches. Here is a list of the different rows that you need to do to get to that 70. If you need to make the hat bigger or smaller, just add or subtract to that. So I will also put a link to another tutorial video that I have on how to do the rounds of increases so that you can see how those are done. So we're going to start into the pattern here, and we are going to do a chain 2, and then in the same stitch we did the chain 2, we are going to do a half double crochet. For this pattern, the chain 2 never counts as a stitch, so just keep that in mind as we are going through the pattern. And then I am going to do 2 rows of half double crochets. After you have finished that, you should do a slip stitch join after each of the rows, and then we will be going on to the next part of the pattern after you've completed those 2 rows. So after 9, we are going to do the slip stitch join a little differently. So you would normally go into the top of this stitch, but because we're going to be working in that very far back loop, the one right in the very back right there, that's where we're going to do our join. But to make it a little smoother, we're going to take our hook off of the yarn, and we're going to go through that back loop and then reattach that loop that we had taken off, and we're just going to pull it through so our work is in the back. Then what we need to do is a chain 2, and we are going to do half double crochets in those back loops all the way around for rows 10 and 11. So to see where that back loop is right there is your front loop or your third front loop. That's your middle loop, and then that's your back loop. So that is where we're going to be working on, or where we're going to be working in these next 2 rows. And we're going to do the slip stitch join similar to what we did at the start of row 9. For row 10. For row 11, what we're going to do is we're just going to do a normal slip stitch join because that row is actually just going to be a normal row of half double crochets. So as we are working our way around in that back loop only, as we come to the end, you can see here's the slip stitch join, and there are the V's, the normal V's that you would see when you're doing your crochet. I put my little stitch marker in there just to remind me where to start and where to place my hook. And also these are my new stitch markers with Epic Yarn Gems on them, so I had them, I thought let's use them. So I did do that. slip stitch join, and then we're going to do a chain 2. And we're going to do a half double crochet right into that first stitch, the same one that we did the chain. So what I'm going to do after this is I'm going to put that stitch marker back in there so I know where I want to start my next row, and just to keep track of where those back loop, front loop, middle loop are. So we're just going to have that all set so that we know where we need to go when we come back around. So like I said, this row is just a straight row of half double crochets, and we are going to work that all the way around. You know, I just thought that about this is I'm going to also put another link to another tutorial video on how to do half double crochets, because that is really what this whole hat is made with. So after this round, we are going to get into the hag stitch, and the hag stitch is actually really simple and really cool. It's just where you place your hook. So for rows 13 through 16, we're going to do the hag stitch. And where we're going to start is for the very first stitch. What I decided to do was just a normal half double crochet using that middle strand and the back strand, which makes the V in the back, and that was where we're going to place our hook. And we're just going to do that slip stitch join through those two just because it made a smoother seam. And then we will do a chain 2. After that, what we're going to do is we're going to work in the back loops only. So let's put our stitch marker in again. I'm just using it because, you know, it's so cute. I just am really happy with how they turned out. Typically you don't see me using stitch markers, but this one was just cute, so I just needed to use it. So let's start. So let's look at this half double crochet and what it looks like. So we have 3 different pieces of yarn. Right there is the third front loop. This is the middle loop, and then right here is the back loop. And for the very first stitch, we're going to do a half double crochet into that back loop. Then in the next stitch, again, the anatomy is the front loop, middle loop, and the back loop. But this one, we are actually going to put a half double crochet in that front loop, that third front loop. And this is what's really making that really cool texture. And then what you're going to do is you're just going to alternate going in the back loop in one stitch, and then the stitch after that you're going to go in that third front loop. So what you're not using in this row is that center loop, or that center strand of yarn, and you're just going to keep doing that all the way around. Simple, right? It just works up so quickly. So after you do finish this row, you will finish it with a slip stitch join, and this is how it looks after you've done 4 rows. You can see the texture. It's beautiful. And to finish out this hat, you're going to repeat rows 10 through 16 until you get to row 24. Now if you want a longer hat, what you can do is you just can repeat those rows again, the 10 through 16, and it will make a longer hat, maybe a slouchy looking hat. So this is your very last row, and we're going to go in and do that slip stitch join by pulling it through to the back, again trying to make that seam as less visible as possible. But here we're only going to do a chain 1, and then we're going to put a single crochet into that same loop that we just did the chain 1, and then we're going to do single crochets all the way around, and that is making your final border for the hat, which is just a little band or strip around the back. I really do hope that you've enjoyed this video and that you like how this hat turned out. It is a free pattern, and I hope that you use it. If you do, I would love to see your creations. If you modify it or whatever, you can, post it on my Facebook page or my Instagram, or send me an email at epicyarngems@gmail.com. I would love to see how this worked out for you. I really want to thank you all for joining me today. It has been my privilege to share with you this pattern, And thank you, Ryan, for sharing this stitch with the crochet world. And to everybody who's watched the video, I really appreciate all of your support. And I hope that you have an awesome day. Peace, love, and happiness to you all. Take care.